Okay, boys and girls, let's start drawing our Vincent van Gogh inspired sunflowers. Hold your paper vertically, that means up and down, so that you have enough room for your nice tall sunflowers. Next, write your name and your teacher code on the back of your paper. It's a good idea to write it small in the bottom corner. That way, if you make a mistake, you can always use the back of your paper. Okay, now we're going to start by drawing a circle in the top middle part of your paper. You don't want your circle to be small, okay? It should be bigger than that. So I'm going to try again. You also don't want your circle to be gigantic. Oh my goodness, that's way too big. I'm not going to have enough room for my petals if I do my middle part that big. So I'm going to erase it and try again. So the first one was way too small. The second one was way too big. This one is going to be just right. There we go, medium sized. Okay, now we're going to use a combination of shapes and lines to draw our sunflower. We already drew a shape for this circle in the middle. Next, I want you to draw a short straight line that goes up from that circle. And then we're going to use curved lines. A curved line is a line that bends, starting at the top of that straight line and curving down so that it touches the circle. Now I'm going to repeat those steps, and I want my lines to be about the same size. Straight line down, curved line that bends, starting at the top and swooping down so that it touches the circle. There, now I have two petals. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the side. A straight line, and then a curved line that starts at the top and curves down to touch the circle. You can even turn your paper if that's easier for you. Don't forget to follow along with me as we draw this together step by step. I'm going nice and slow so that you can follow along with me. There we go. Now I have 4 petals on my sunflower, and it's already starting to look like a flower. But I need a few more petals in between my petals, just to make it look a lot more like a flower and fill in that empty space. And all we're going to do here, boys and girls, is repeat those steps that we just did, using straight lines and curved lines that bend down to touch the circle or the side of the petal. Straight lines, curved lines. And my last one here, straight line, curved lines that bend down to touch the petals. And there's my first sunflower. What we're going to do next is draw another sunflower beside our first sunflower, and it's going to be beside it and behind it. And we're going to use something called overlapping to make that happen. So I'm going to start with the circle part, but I'm not closing the circle, okay? That side of the circle is hidden behind this petal, so I'm not going to draw it. Next, I'm going to draw a straight line up, just like we did with our first sunflower, repeating those same steps. Straight line and then 2 curved lines that bend down to touch the circle. One on the bottom, and then one on the side. Now this one is going to go right off the edge of the paper because I don't have a lot of space there. So you aren't going to see the pointy part of that petal because it's off the edge. Now this petal right here is hidden behind this giant petal, so I'm not going to draw it because we can't see it. It's being blocked by that petal. I have a little bit of space that I can see here, so I'm just going to draw a tiny petal and then a few more in between, just like last time. And this last one is being partly blocked by that petal in the middle, so I'm only going to draw the parts that I can see in that empty space. Now look, boys and girls, this flower is overlapping the other flower. That means one is in front and one is behind. That's what overlapping means. Okay, now we're going to draw the last sunflower over here on the left side of the middle flower. And if you were following along with me, I think you probably already have a pretty good idea about what to do. We're going to repeat the exact same steps all over again, drawing a circle that's partially blocked by the first sunflower in the middle. And then our petals, again, repeating those same types of lines. Straight line in the middle and two curved lines on either side. So go ahead and do those same steps as I finish mine, and then we'll move on to the next step together. Now what I'm going to start drawing are little dots in the middle of the sunflower. Sunflowers have these really cool little dots in the middle. I like to call these freckles. I don't know what they're really called, but freckles is what I call them. So go ahead and put some little dots all around the middle part of your sunflower to add some freckles. Okay, now we're going to draw the flower pot at the bottom of our paper. Okay, you might have more room at the bottom of your paper, you might have less room, depending on how big you made your sunflowers. My sunflowers are really kind of big, so I don't have a lot of room for the flower pot, but my flower pot can just be a little bit smaller. That's okay. I'm going to start with a line in the middle of the paper. It doesn't go to the edges, it's in the middle. Small lines going down, and then another line that connects. This is going to be the top of my flower pot. Next, I'm going to draw some diagonal lines that go down for the edges and the side of the bowl or the flower pot. You could make your lines round and curved, or you could make them straight. It's up to you. I'm going to connect the bottom of the flower pot now. And now we need our stems. Okay, sunflowers have stems. Right now my sunflower looks like it's floating. So I'm going to use a curved line and then another curved line that's exactly the same on the other side. There's my 3 stems. Now we need some leaves on our sunflower stems. You can leave the leaves off if you don't have enough room. I have some room, so I'm going to add the leaves. The leaves look a lot like the petals that we drew on our sunflower. We use the same steps, straight line and 2 curved lines that bend down. Now what I'm going to draw is the outside edge of the bowl, the back of the flower pot. And I'm skipping over those stems because the stems are blocking that part of the bowl. They are overlapping. The stems are in front and the back of the bowl is behind. Now I'm going to do the same thing. The back of the table, 2 lines beside the flower pot. We can't see the other side because the flower pot is blocking it. It's overlapping. Okay, now I'm going to add some kind of design on my tabletop because right now it's looking a little bit boring and I want to add something that makes it look a little more interesting. So I'm adding lines that go up and down, vertical lines, And then I'm going to add some horizontal lines. Those are lines that go side to side. Next up, I'm going to trace with a Sharpie, which is something we already pretty much know how to do. So I'm speeding up a lot of this, but I am going to stop and slow down just so I can just walk you through some of the steps to tracing over the pencil. The key to tracing with a Sharpie is to go really slow. Take your time. If you go too fast, you might accidentally get off that pencil line. Okay, so make sure you go really, really slow. Like I said before, you can turn your paper if that's easier for you. This is something that I do a lot for my own artwork because it's just easier for me to go up and down with my Sharpie than it is to go side to side. So feel free to move your paper around however you would like so that it's easier for you to trace. Notice how slow I'm going with my Sharpie. I'm going very careful, very slow, so I'm not missing any pencil lines. I'm making sure to stay on top of those pencil lines. Okay, I'm almost done with my Sharpie, and now I'm ready to erase any pencil lines. Remember, draw, trace, erase is a great rhyme to remember in the art room. Anytime we draw with a pencil first, we trace with a Sharpie second, the last step is to erase. Draw, trace, erase. Get rid of any of those leftover pencil lines because we really don't need them anymore. We took care of that with our Sharpie, and we don't need the pencil anymore, so go ahead and erase them. When you are all finished drawing, tracing, and erasing, you may put your artwork into your folder and save it for next week when we start our coloring.